Hello, and welcome to another episode of Through the Monocle. Today we will be talking about Lemony Snicket's A Series of Unfortunate Events from 2004. As always, I'm your host, Grant Ingram, and as startled by my own face as I am joined today by my good friend, my enemy, Grant Skillen. How are you doing, Grant?
I'm doing good, especially good since I'm your enemy. I've been trying to get there for a while, so I'm happy I finally got there.
Yeah, you finally got elevated. Before you were just like my nuisance.
Yeah, I've been
Now,
I've been working on that for a while, but
yeah. Something else we've been working on for a while. Um, a series of unfortunate events. We started watching this way back when the Netflix show came out, and they started this way back when we were born. So,
yes. And I actually read most of these books when I was younger. I read up through this Slippery Slope book, so I had a lot coming back to me as I watched this movie, especially the TV show, though. But we'll get into that later.
yeah, you get to act as the resident book expert, like I have the last couple of episodes, and you did on Harry Potter. So cool. All right. So I do want to talk about this. Jim Carrey played the Count in this one. Neil Patrick Harris played him in the series, and they're surprisingly similar in looks. And as you can see here, they're both very low res, kind of menacing. Um, very similar. I guess they are the same character, but I was very surprised by that. Grant, did you have feelings on that at all?
No, I think they both look great. They both look creepy and weird, and just like I imagined he would look.
Yeah, like he's menacing, and in the movie he's
Mhm.
like kind of goofy, but he's still like menacing.
Yeah.
Um, we'll get there. I do want to talk a bit more about the cast. In the movie, these were the Baudelaires,
Mhm.
and Mr. Poe in the background, and here are the TV Baudelaires. I swear to God, they're the same kids. Like,
Yeah, I didn't realize if I didn't know that the movie was 13 years older than the TV show, I would have thought it was the same girl for a while.
yeah,
They did a fantastic job casting, and both of them, again, just like with Count Olaf, both of them are just what I imagined each of the kids would look like. So I have no complaints about casting.
yeah, it's a very solid cast choice. And like I said, I swear they're the same kids. Like even Klaus and Sonny look
Yeah.
remarkably similar. Um, shows what a good job they did casting both of these to the book,
Mhm.
which is neat. Because they are book based movies, and you've heard us complain, presuming you've seen us before. If not, hi, hi, and I have one thing to say.
Hey.
So we like to talk about things that are related to books, and so we talked about Percy Jackson. You and I both
Mhm.
agreed it was just not Percy Jackson. These, at the very least, they tried to keep the same spirit, the same aesthetic, and I
Yeah.
commend them for that.
Yeah,
All
absolutely.
around. This movie was directed by a guy. I accidentally pulled up the TV show before we started doing this because I am a real podcast host. Um,
You are a
so
ding dong.
this movie is directed by Brad Silberling, which is a name I've never heard before. He's known for directing this movie. No, and he did Casper in '95, City of Angels, and Moonlight Mile. He's currently directing Dynasty. Speaking of Dynasty, we know somebody who's going to be on an episode of Dynasty this year. Um,
We do?
yeah, Taylor Cahill, who that interview is coming out this Saturday. It's almost like it's all connected. Almost like we planned this. Grant,
And
you
don't
remember
wait. Just you wait because I said don't wait. Just you wait because there's gonna be even more connections later on.
we planned this? Dun, dun, dun. Anyway, we also he seems to have moved mainly to the CW, which is I guess cool. Good for Brad. Jim Carrey as Count Olaf, Jude Law as Lemony Snicket, um, which is cool. Meryl
Mhm.
Streep, Oscar winner as Aunt Josephine. Liam Aiken, which is a name I keep hearing and I don't know why. He's in stuff now. but he played Klaus. He was also in the Emoji Movie, which is everybody's second favorite terrible movie. And I don't know why I keep hearing his name because he hasn't been in anything. So Liam Aiken, everybody. Congratulations, Liam. Emily Browning, who is also a name that you would know because she's in other things. She played Violet. Kara Hoffman was Sunny. Shelby Hoffman was also Sunny. You can guess they were Oscar-winning actresses at the time. Depicted here in Violet's Arms. They won multiple Oscars by this point. Catherine O'Hara was Justice Strauss. Timothy Spall was Mr. Poe. Billy Connolly as Uncle Monty. Luis Guzman, everybody's favorite Greendale graduate, was the bald man, which is one heck of a term. Bald man. And then Jamie Harris was the hook-handed man. I think Jennifer Coolidge was the white-faced woman. Jane Addams was also a white-faced woman. It does work out, though, because they are both white.
I would hope so.
Yeah, it would be terrible otherwise. Cedric the Entertainer was the constable, and then people I've never heard of beneath there. Sorry if you're people I've never heard of. I'm sure you've never heard of me. Anyway, Grant, you've read the books. You have opinions on the movie. Before we get into spoilers, what were your opinions?
So my opinions, it's a solid movie. Like, it does mostly, I would say, a good job of representing the books. It covers generally mostly the first book and then bits of the second and third, like with who they stay with and what happens.
Yeah.
But the second and third are very brief, like maybe 10, 15 minutes each. And then it goes back to a scene from the first book. But overall, it's pretty solid. There's some things I could nitpick, but it's a good movie. Like if we're gonna compare this to the other movies, I'd say it's probably the second best movie we've watched in the cycle. I'd say it's probably better than Miss Peregrine's Home for Children.
Interesting.
That's what she said.
I would say it's probably the third best in the cycle. I really like this movie. I'm surprised I really like this movie because I picked this movie because it was very bad. And its Rotten Tomatoes was nowhere near as low as I thought it was. It's only in the 70s, and I think the
Grant picked this movie and he goes, "Hey, you want to review this awful movie of a series we both like? Sure, why not?"
Yeah, and here we are. The movie's not that bad. Like it just isn't. I was expecting more of a Percy Jackson on steroids, and instead it's decent. Like I would say it's Miss Peregrine's Home, but just I don't have the emotional attachment to the story I did with Miss Peregrine's Home. It's that same, like you can tell
And I'm
they
the
tried.
reverse of that.
Yeah, you can tell they tried. Like that's what I keep coming back to with this movie. It wasn't perfect, and there are reasons for that we'll get into in just a second.
Yeah, it's like I said a minute ago, it's largely the first book with bits of the second and third spliced in the middle.
And all out of order, which
Yes,
we'll
because
talk
it goes first book, cuts to part of the second, cuts to part of the third, and then cuts back to a scene at the end of the first book. I was like,
which we'll get into. I keep saying we'll get into. It makes sense for a movie, and we're getting to why it's a movie. I just want to say I really enjoyed it. Like it was not as bad as I thought it was going to be. It felt a lot like the series if the series didn't care about being the books.
I feel like a series if it was a series of unfortunate events.
I have a nitpick with the ending, and we will get to that. So we are going to go ahead and say spoilers, give you this nice low-res picture of the Count, and we're gonna go ahead and suggest you hop off if you haven't seen the movie or if you care like at all.
I specifically requested it.
It's been out since 2004, and realistically, if you care about it, you've definitely seen the TV show. So,
and realistically, they're both based on the books. So we just gave you the warning for no apparent reason, but I did specifically request it.
Yeah, so like Grant said, this is definitely mostly based off of the book, and that's good. Even this movie with splicing stuff, everything they show is for the most part based off of the books.
Right.
Which
to me is the first thing I care about. Like as a book to movie fan, as long as what was there is in the books, I give it the Harry Potter pass. Like you didn't have time, you took creative liberty, but it was based on that. So yeah.
So anyone who doesn't know but wants to know, it's called a series of unfortunate events for a reason. It starts with the family house burning down while the kids, I can't remember if they're out on a walk on the beach in this or not, but kids are out for a walk on the beach and the house burns down with the parents inside of it and the parents die.
I will say before it does that though, it starts with like a Christmas movie, Rankin and Bass style stop motion animation movie about an elf. Before my good friend Jude Law, we went to high school together back in 1982. He
For
hops on.
reference, Grant was not born until over 20 years after that.
Yeah, you can tell that if you're looking or listening to me. You can tell. But anyway, my good friend Jude Law is narrating. This is not the movie you came here to see. If you want to see that movie, Theater 2 is has available seating. I wonder if there's a. I'm going to try to find the actual quote because I really liked that. Like that was what pulled me in, directly. And let's see. Yes. So the littlest elf has just come to an abrupt halt. I'm sorry to say that this is not the movie you will be watching. The movie you are about to see is extremely unpleasant. If you wish to see a film about a happy little elf, I'm sure there is still plenty of seating in theater number 2. However, if you like stories about clever and reasonably attractive orphans, suspicious fires, carnivorous leeches, Italian food, and secret organizations, then stay as I retrace each and every one of the Baudelaire children's woeful steps. My name is Lemony Snicket, and it is my sad duty to document this tale. I did my best American Jude Law there. Again, we went to high school together. He is American. I know that because he's from Alabama, where I met him in high school. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
So
that's not
then
true
it
at all.
cuts to parents dead, house burned down, whatever.
Yeah,
and all of a sudden you have these newly made orphans who need somewhere to go.
these
And
reasonably attractive orphans.
yeah.
Um,
So where are they going to go? They can go to a family member. Are they going to
their
go to
closest relative.
their closest relative? Are they going to go to who their parents specified in the will? Not yet. They're going to go to Count Olaf. They're going to go to this fine chap over here on the left
Yeah,
in the movie and on the right in the TV show.
yeah.
And yeah, your normal average Joe, normal average Olaf. Uh, Not anything peculiar or anything.
Not the dancing snowman though,
Mhm.
which I should have gotten a clip from that because that would have been a good joke to make. Um, yeah,
Yeah.
I will say, I my one of my biggest gripes with this movie was the whole reasonably attractive thing because these kids are at maximum 14 and it's just kind of a weird thing to throw in about orphans, but like okay. And then you have the whole marriage plot later, and the whole movie just reeks of like strange. I don't know, just strangeness.
Yeah, but that's almost kind of the point, isn't it?
It is, and I'm not knocking it for that. It was just a very like it was surprising for me to hear that, and then I remembered the wedding thing, and that's even weirder. Like
Yeah, just your average Count Olaf marrying a 14-year-old for her
which,
money.
like, also nobody in the town thought to stop that. Like,
Well,
like even
because
if you
everyone
don't
thought
think
it was
he's
actually just part of the play.
that's right.
So, yeah. And
Yeah,
there's part of that play in that the play is what I mentioned earlier. The play is in the first book, but in the movie it's positioned as after happening in the third book. And that's not a huge deal to me because it's still accurate. Um
it's still
it's
there. Yeah,
just they just shuffled it around, took some creative liberty, and that's fine.
right.
Um but
I
yeah, and
agree, and I
so
think they had to take that because it's a movie. We talked about this a little bit before we got on. Um, but the advantage of the TV show is it was a TV show. Like
mhm.
these books are there are 13 books here. Um, and when the children go and visit Olaf,
Grant
you
saw that. I was gonna sneak that in on him, but he
yeah.
saw me upload it.
So when the kids go and visit Olaf, you have the time to talk about what happened with Olaf, and they
Yeah.
move on to the next to Monty, and then move on to Aunt Josephine, and then move
Mhm.
on and on and on and on. Whereas with this, you get an hour and a half. You have to hook people into this story in an hour and a half, and you have to keep Jim Carrey happy because he's most of your budget.
Yeah.
So you
So for reference of time with this movie is an hour and a half. I think there's more time for the first 2 episodes of the Netflix show just on the first book. And then every book gets 2 parts, like 2 episodes, and they're 40 to 50 minutes each per episode.
and I
Some a
think
little more, some a little
a
less.
couple of the books got 3 episodes. Like I think there were, I think it was given the license to do whatever it needed to adapt the material.
Mhm,
And to be fair, in 2004, the only way you can do a good TV show based on these books is if you convince HBO to make a kids show. And if you know anything about HBO, there ain't a lot of kids watching HBO. Like this
mhm.
is before HBO Family. It just doesn't. There aren't a lot of them.
Yeah.
So once Netflix comes around, you have that ability, um, and it greatly benefits from that. We'll talk more about TV shows in a minute because apparently every movie we've covered should be a TV show. Um,
And will end up being probably
I hope Miss
maybe
Peregrine
not
is.
one, but
I hope Miss Peregrine is. Like I really want that to be
yeah.
a thing. But I think given that this is a movie and you can't convince Jim Carrey to sign on for 13 movies, um,
I don't
this
think
is.
you could convince anyone to sign on for 13 movies like this.
I mean, you could if you told him, "Hey, you're going to get 15 million per." Yeah, maybe because Marvel's done it, but it's
Yeah.
just not. It's just not feasible. So you're talking about then adapting 3 to 4 books per movie, and I think this is the best way to do it because otherwise you get left on a kind of a weird cliffhanger, and there's no like there is no climax to this to the movie that ends in the third book.
Yeah, I get it, and like you said, definitely benefited. Like in retrospect, Grant and I talked about this a bit off air. It's easy to look back and go, "Oh yeah, this is a perfect TV show," but that just wasn't an option back then. They had to try to make a movie, and so they did the best they could to do that.
And
And
they were respectful.
mhm,
It
yeah,
wasn't
and they made
pre-saturated.
money off of it. It was like $140-ish million budget, made a little over 200 million. They made some money.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm kind of surprised the budget was that high. Like I don't really know where that money went except Jim Carrey's pockets. And I guess Meryl Streep cost cash too.
mhm,
But like there are not a lot of visual effects. It's not like it's obscenely like green screen. It's 2004. It's just kids on a set, and it works
yeah,
entirely as kids
yeah.
on a set.
Yeah, and
Um,
there's some great lines from it too that are from the books. One of my favorites is interaction between Klaus and Count Olaf, where he goes, "I must say you're a gloomy looking bunch. Why so gloom? Our parents just died. Ah, yes, of course. How very, very awful. Wait, let me do that one more time. Give me the line again, quickly, while it's fresh on my mind.
yeah,
Our parents just died."
I really like Jim Carrey's Olaf. I
Mm.
really do. He's a goofy son of a gun, and
Yeah, he looks
it
great.
works. Yeah, he does a really good job. Kind of just he's Jim Carrey, like he's a rubber face, and he does such a good job being this kind of crappy actor. Um, wait,
Takes a good actor to be a bad one.
yeah,
Um,
my favorite interaction I think was the dinner is served from Violet. So he says or she says dinner is served putinesca. I don't know how to
Puttanesca.
putanesca
Puttanesca.
putanesca. Olaf goes, "What did you call me?" And Klaus goes, "It's pasta putanesca." I'm assuming that's how you say it because I don't remember how they said it in the movie. If I sound like an idiot, clip me and use it to promote this. Uh, and then Count Olaf goes, "Where's the roast beef?" And Klaus goes, "Roast beef." And Olaf goes, "Roast beef. Or beef. Yes, roast beef. It's the Swedish term for beef that is roasted." Um, and he's just a goofball. Like there was a clip I wanted to get of him doing the like the dance thing he was doing. I don't remember what was going on there, I guess as he was trying to take their fortunes. Or no. Where he was gonna call the cops. Oh, are you? Are you? And he takes them and locks them up. Like he's just very physical, and that is something I like about his Olaf.
Mhm.
It almost
Yeah.
feels like he's playing old the Joker. Like it's that kind of thing.
Yeah. Another funny line he's got is after he gets caught, after he kills Monty, he goes, "Dang
Monday.
it, that was such a good character."
And I love that. Um, with what was his name? Stefano. I think it was
Mhm.
Stefano.
Stefano.
And he's got like the fake hands and all that, like running down. It was, I don't know, it felt cartoony, which is what this book kind of leads you to believe. It's like this glum cartoon. I like it. I don't dislike this movie in any way, shape, or form. I just really
Yeah.
don't.
Yeah. And one of the cool things it does is Lemony Snicket will pop in occasionally, and Jude Law does a good job. I think I prefer the guy, I forget his name,
Patrick
that's in the
Warburton.
TV show. Yeah.
Patrick
I like
Warburton.
his voice
Yeah, that's
more,
right.
but Jude Law, it's like that's preference. Like Jude Law does a good job, so does Patrick. It's just which do you like more? But what he'll do is he'll interject, say a word that's used in the context of the book, and interject with its meaning. And Count Olaf, there's a bit of one here with Violet doing it, where Count Olaf says, "And I realized I might have been a bit standoffish, shall we say?" Which in this case is a big, big word meaning. And Violet cuts him off and says, "Pure evil."
Mm-hmm. And they did that in the show too. I wonder how much inspiration was taken from this in that show because they did that a lot in the show, and I really like that. That's the
Mhm.
thing that surprised me. The show feels tonally the same. Like in a lot of the little production aspects are the same. It's still
Mhm.
that gloomy, except when it isn't, in that sort of thing. The show just feels like they were like, "Hey, make this the book and make a lot of it," and
Yeah,
I think it worked.
pretty
I
much. Yeah.
I would argue the show is just a longer format of this.
Yeah. Um, so some more context. Monty, Dr. Montgomery, whatever you want to call him, is the
Montgomery,
person
Montgomery.
they go to live with after Olaf, and his wife died in a fire, and so I don't know what that was.
his,
Um,
his wife died in the fire, and that's a drive in the deep left field.
by Castellanos. Uh, if anyone gets that reference, shout out to Nick Castellanos. Um,
Nick, if you're watching, give me a call. My number is
uh,
8675309.
beep. Um, so there's that context, and then after Monty dies, they go live with Aunt Josephine, and her husband had passed away. What? Someone get this man off the controls. But
That's what she said.
her Aunt Josephine's husband had passed away, and Klaus asked, "Did he die in a fire?" No, no, silly boy. He was eaten by leeches.
That's a lot of damage.
We have clips going.
All right, so this is my show now. Grant, get back on.
Yeah, I was just gonna make you wait. I was just gonna make you. Yeah. We have
Yeah,
funny
so
rules.
yeah. Another one of the interjections that's funny is actually Olaf this time, where he says, "Why aren't you orphans in the kitchen preparing dinner?" Which, by the way, just a tip out there: if you're going to become the legal guardian of kids whose parents just died in a fire, don't call them orphans. They'll say, "Why aren't you orphans in the kitchen preparing dinner?" And Violet goes, "Dinner." It's the French word for the evening meal.
I like the whole. It's the Swedish. It's the French. It's the Russian.
Mhm.
Like I like that. I don't remember Neil Patrick Harris is Olaf doing that. There's a lot of just Jim Carrey being Jim Carrey in this movie, and I like that.
Mhm.
I had the thought, I'm like, Jim Carrey would have made a good Joker, and then I realized he played the Joker in Batman Forever, where he really played the Riddler as the Joker. And yeah, there's people in this town that have shot him for $5. Anyway, keep going.
The children are going to serve puttanesca, the very meal I ate before they took me leg.
That is fantastic. I did like the different characters. I like Stefano. I like the captain. The captain especially, where even the kids were like, "Is this Olaf?" Like
that's one thing the kids have throughout the book the books are an uncanny ability to figure out who Olaf is. Honestly, it's pretty easy if you know who Olaf is and you see this weird random guy that just happens to fill a need. If you see a weird random guy that just happens to fill a need, like this chat on the left, then it's pretty obvious that it's him.
I do want to take a second to compare the uncanniness. So we have Neil Patrick Harris here on the right. We have Jim Carrey here on the left. We've got this guy.
The
They all have
nose is just perfect.
The nose is perfect. I want to see a series of unfortunate events with Olaf being Olaf. Make Anna and Elsa the Baudelaire kids. You can gender swap Klaus. Nobody cares about Klaus. And then just have Sunny show up in some way, shape, or form as maybe one of the little troll babies from Frozen. I just want to see somebody make that. So if you're watching this, first off, hi. Second off, please go make that. Because obviously, if you're watching us, you have the ability to, because it takes a very high brain to watch us. Our audience is smart, guys. So, yeah.
Sometimes
the wrong clip.
I specifically requested it.
Right clip.
Another
I was gonna Gilbert Gottfried, everybody.
Another one I forgot about, just right at the beginning. They go up to Olaf's door and they knock after the bell rings. He goes, "Intrude."
Yeah, not enter, intrude.
Mm-hmm. I think there's another line with Aunt Josephine, and she asks, "Where's your brother?" Kitchen. Klaus, what are you doing? Napkins. Napkins. Oh, napkins are here. Come away from the fridge. If it falls, it'll crush you flat.
And then they pay that off later, though. When the house is blowing over, get away from the fridge. If it falls, it'll crush you flat. I also like how she never cooks anything warm because she's afraid the stove will catch fire.
Mm-hmm.
She's also scared of realtors, which everybody should be scared of realtors. But
I mean, I feel like she's just scared.
Yeah, well, I mean, if your husband died with leeches, I mean, I would be too. I would be too. So, thematically, as we've said, the show and the movie are the same.
Also, back to the realtors. I just found a quote of that. It's Aunt Josephine goes, "Oh God, I hate it here." Viola says, "Well, Aunt Josephine, have you thought of maybe moving someplace else? Maybe if you moved away from Lake Lacrimose, you might feel better." "Oh, I could never, 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 never sell this house. I'm terrified of realtors." Lemony Snicket pops in. There are two kinds of fears: rational and irrational. Being afraid of realtors is an irrational fear.
I didn't like how they pay that off again in the cave, where she's like, "I guess we're going to be living here," and Klaus goes, "This cave is for sale," which means that a lot of people will be coming to see it soon, and some of those people will be realtors. And she's like, "Okay, let's go." And then she later talks about how she sort of stuck it out and dealt with the realtors when she's getting leached before she dies.
No. I need to remove this. He's a menace. It's gone.
Shows up in dour situations. He's a friend when you need one.
Olaf is gone. Olaf is never coming back. Okay.
If you're listening to this on audio, I'm sorry, you're missing the best visual.
No one's here. Let's be honest. No one's here at this point.
So this is a perfect time for an ad. If you like Through the Monocle, you need to check out our new energy drink.
Yeah, so I think we've talked enough. So then they're with Olaf, and then they get taken away from him. Go to live with Monty. Monty gets eaten by his own snake that Olaf basically admits that he discovered and let out to kill him. Then Josephine eats a banana, nana.
You're saying he didn't get killed by the incredibly deadly viper? That was the whole point of that scene. The whole point of that scene was the incredibly deadly viper didn't do it, and Olaf just poisoned him.
Oh.
Because the incredibly deadly viper was playing with Sunny, because the incredibly deadly viper is the most harmless animal on the planet. That's the whole point.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm done. Olaf murders him. Josephine
Dead. And then by the end of the movie, Olaf is in prison.
Yep.
For his various.
Actually, no, he's not.
Pedophilia, which is surprising.
Yeah. But then it cuts back to the play which is at the end of the first book, where Olaf essentially just sets up this play to have he tries to trick Violet into marrying him in the play, but have it be a real marriage. But of course, they figure that out. And so, what's interesting is in the TV show, because I just rewatched it, she does sign it with her left hand, and that's what they use as the way to get out of it. Here, they kind of change that a little bit, makes her sign it very slowly with the right hand because she's trying to get out of it. Actually signs it. He's holding up the thing, and my boy Klaus gets the 5 reflection mirrors in the magnifying glass and shoots the sun rays at the piece of paper to burn it. That ain't canon.
No, it's light rays.
Yeah.
If it was a canon, it wouldn't have been light rays, Grant. This isn't Star Wars. This is a very grounded TV show. I mean, movie.
Yeah. But yeah, and so then the movie ends with Olaf getting arrested. He actually gets off of it because he gets people on the jury to get him off of it, and runs away. But that's essentially where the movie ends.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm surprised that he got people on the jury to get him off because
she wasn't friendly. She really wasn't, and she probably there are people in town, honey, that would have shot her for $5.
there are people in town, honey, that have shot him for $5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyone who doesn't know what that's from, if there's anyone still here, that's from Bernie. You should go check out our review, and you should go check out that movie.
Yes, do both of those things, and then come back and tell us why Jack Black is your favorite actor, and it better not be Peaches.
Love lifted me.
That's such a good movie. I wish we could review that movie every week.
Mm-hmm.
We need to start a podcast. It's just the Bernie review podcast, and we just review it every week.
Back to the show. I think you were just about to get to this, but this is definitely one that's good as a TV series. We mentioned it earlier. We've mentioned it briefly throughout, but TV series was great for this because you could get the dedicated time. You could get 2 episodes per book, knock them out, make them really like the books. Obviously, it still won't be perfect, but very much like it. And you can just hammer them out. And you can do it in a TV series. You don't have to worry about 13 movies, which can carry other people. You get them in for the TV show, do a couple seasons, bing, bada, boom, done.
And I hope that is what we get with these other TV shows. This is what I was going with. Thematically, the movie and the shows are the same. Harry Potter is getting its own TV show. Mm-hmm. We've seen the movies. I hope thematically those movies and that show are the same. I want it to just be a fill out. I want the Percy Jackson to be actually Percy Jackson. Like, that's not the same thing at all. But
yeah,
like,
I want Percy Jackson to be good.
Thematically, I didn't have a problem with the Percy Jackson movie. Like, it worked. It felt Percy Jackson-ish, except the story just wasn't it. Like,
yeah,
it's not like it was The Last Jedi. It sort of might have tried to have been, but it's not like it was.
Yeah.
So that's what I guess I'm getting to here. We've seen the TV show thing work. The thing is, we've seen the TV show thing work with a movie that failed. I'm interested to see if Harry Potter can succeed because Harry Potter failed.
That's going to be the question.
Grant, your microphone sounds like absolute crap.
Should be coming through my podcast.
I'm getting an echo and I'm getting a buzz.
How's that?
Now? Much better. And don't worry about the edit. We can edit this fairly easily. There's a StreamYard dedicated cutter.
Okay, it's just before 34.
Yep. And there's a little bit of buzzing before that, but it shouldn't really matter. Anyway, I don't know what caused it. I just heard it and was like, oh, crap. Anyway, you were saying.
What was I saying?
I
think you were saying. And then I was interjecting something, but I don't remember.
Okay. You were interjecting. My point being that I think that this serves as a good model because this was a decent enough movie. Percy Jackson needs to be rewiped. Miss Peregrine's Home, I would argue, probably could follow the same model, but we've seen this work, and I think, I mean, we obviously planned to talk about this from a reboot Harry Potter. We had inside information. We knew the Harry Potter reboot was coming 3 months ago, but I honestly think it works out for us because we've seen this. We know what it looks like. And I think if they do it right, it'll be fantastic. And if they don't, it won't. And we will only get one season of it. And we'll be sitting there like, what the heck, Warner Brothers? Or what the heck, Disney? Or what the heck?
Yeah.
Your mom. Like, you know, just I want more of these.
Yeah,
Not
the
just-
the movie's solid, and the review is of the movie, but the TV show it has to be part of this because, like you were saying, it interjects is perfect. There's a solid movie, but what they wanted to do, they weren't able to do. They're able to come back later, make a TV show out of it, and do what they wanted to do originally, fully,
Right.
and take these books and do them justice in the TV show. And I'm hoping that's what's going to happen with Percy Jackson because they've got Rick. He's actually involved with this one.
Your good friend Rick that you went to high school with?
Yeah, that went to high school with in California. He's involved with it. And J.K. Rowling is going to be involved with the Harry Potter reboot. Other stuff about her aside, that's good for Harry Potter itself. Series
bad
of
for
Unfortunate
viewership.
Events. I don't know how much the writer was involved, but it worked out. I'm sure he was, but
Yeah, I'm sure Lemony Snicket was there somewhere. His name isn't Lemony Snicket, but I'm sure he was there somewhere. His name, by the way, is
I'm blanking on his name.
it's supposed to be Dan, and I cannot for the life of me think of his second name.
The author is Lemony Snicket.
The author is Lemony Snicket, but Lemony Snicket is Daniel Handler. Yeah, which is his name isn't Lemony Snicket. So Daniel Handler.
That's his pen name. His pen name is Lemony Snicket.
But he also wrote other books as Daniel Handler. He's also still alive. So congrats, Daniel. Yeah. He also made some racist remarks and might have sexually harassed somebody. But Lemony Snicket's a cool dude. I'm sorry. Daniel Handler isn't, but Lemony Snicket can be. I mean, Daniel could be too. I don't know. It doesn't really matter.
Best I can tell looking at like the production side on Wikipedia, so take it with a grain of salt. I don't actually see him. I see a lot of Neil Patrick Harris being involved kind of throughout it.
Well, you know why? Because that TV show started coming out in what, 2017?
I think so, yeah.
And he had his race issues in 2014 and 2018.
Yeah, but that's actually a good example of even if you take the author out of it, you can still have something that's good and something that represents the books well.
You just have to care. Like, that's literally all it comes down to. And I think that these guys cared. The people who made this movie cared. You can tell. It's not a shameless cash grab. Like, you can just tell they cared. And if you care, you're going to make a good thing. It's like Quentin Tarantino, my other good buddy, who I also went to high school with. It's like he says, if you truly love making movies, you can't make a bad one. So if you truly love Harry Potter, you aren't going to make a crappy Harry Potter thing. Unless
J.K.
you're J.K.
Rowling.
Rowling.
Yeah.
That's what she said. But yeah, I'm looking forward to these TV series. I think they're necessary. I really do.
Yeah.
Even Harry Potter, which I would argue is the least necessary of these.
Absolutely, yeah.
It could serve some purpose, and I'm excited for that.
I feel like we've said about all we really can or need to say at this point.
I mean, I've said what I came here to say.
Yeah,
except
TV
check
shows.
out our other show.
Yeah, TV shows are good, especially with these longer book series. I'm excited, but also nervous about the Harry Potter. We'll see, but this showed it works. Do we want to get into what we're doing next month?
Perhaps. We mentioned The Last Jedi. And as some of you know, and the rest of you live under rocks, as some of you know, next month is May. So
you know what the first Thursday of May is?
May the 4th.
Yes.
And may the 4th be with all of you. because
And with our show.
we are talking Star Wars. You've heard it before. We mentioned A New Hope in our first week. That was our first ever, or second ever episode. Second ever episode, because we started with The Dark Knight. But we mentioned A New Hope, and we had the thought: what if the entire month of May we got really nerdy?
What if we were
Hopefully.
insane? And that's what we're doing. So the schedule, the first week of May, we are doing the original trilogy. The
Mhm.
entire original trilogy. It's going to be more of an overview. It's not going to be picking apart each movie, but we're going to do the original trilogy. Then we're going to do the prequel trilogy. Then we're going to do the sequel trilogy. Then we're going to do the extra movies. Grant's going to force me to watch Solo. We'll have Rogue One. I'm forgetting the others.
There
But
aren't
we're gonna
any
have all
others,
of
but
them.
there should have been. And I think we're doing that. Flip the sequels and those movies, because I think those are our cult classic, and I think the sequels are our garbage fire.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
We are going to interject some of our knowledge from the games and TV shows and that sort of thing. But look, guys, I'm moving, and I ain't got 37 hours to watch every TV show.
Come on.
So you're getting me having seen all the movies, and I mean, I'll rewatch them. But yeah, that's where we're at.
I will rewatch every single movie. Let me phrase that. I will rewatch every single movie except Solo, which I will watch for the first time.
And I will say, as of right now, we are 3 days away from Jedi Survivor, I think is what it's called, which I should know because I'm excited for it coming out. And I won't be buying it because I'm broke, but our good friend Taylor Murphy will be. And we might see if we can get him on to talk a little bit about the extended Star Wars universe, because he seems to be an extended Star Wars fan.
And that could be part of that, I guess, third episode.
Right, exactly. That's essentially what that third episode will be. Yeah. But if you're a Star Wars fan, be sure to join us. We are very excited for that. We're gonna have my good friend George Lucas on. I went to high school.
No, we're not having George Lucas on.
We're not getting George Lucas. But this leads me to some shameless promotion. I know a guy who has a signed George Lucas Episode 5 poster. Found that out off air when I was talking to Philip Shabazz. Philip Shabazz played Altair in the first Assassin's Creed game. He's in The Chosen. We did a really cool interview with the dude over on our other show. Must Talk About Nothing.
It is on this channel in video form.
It is on this channel in video format. It's also on Spotify in audio, and I think the video format, because I don't think we split the files. So if you're interested in checking that out, please do. It's really cool. He's a really awesome guy. Like, just go listen to his story. It is fantastic. He's a fantastic storyteller. He's on Netflix. He's doing all sorts of things. Just go check that out. And if you want to support us and make sure that we have lives outside of the show and can feed ourselves, you can do that by going to patreon.com/theculturednerd, where you can select various tiers to give individual shows your money. And if you do that and give it to us, we greatly appreciate it. And if you don't and you give it to the network, we still appreciate that, because our fancy software where I can play little clips like
that's what she said.
costs money, and it ain't cheap. And so your Patreon dollars really help to keep the lights on. We've got some content we're cooking up for that here in the coming months. We're excited to talk about that later. And as always, I've been your host, Grant Ingram.
And I've been your co-host, Grant Skillen. Thank you to each of our Patreon supporters. Thank you to Jose for the logo and Taylor for the intro.
Yep. And thank you, viewers like you, for joining us. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a like, subscribe, tell your friends about us, and go check out The Cultured Nerd. You can scan that little QR code on the left to do that. You can scan the one on the right to check out our other show, Must Talk About Nothing, where we just talked to Philip Shabazz, and we're about to be talking to Taylor Cahill from Shazam! Fury of the Gods. Yeah, so do all of that, and be sure to come back next week as we talk about the original trilogy of Star Wars. Thank you so much for watching, and we will catch you then.